Preliminary redevelopment plans for Beltway Plaza were just passed by the Prince George's County Planning Board. How far into this are we, and what issues still remain to be resolved?
Well, the way I read this, the way I understand this, is that this is kind of a milestone. That for the last several years, that there have been all kinds of studies looking at the site. What do people want? The 2-day-long whatevers. And conversations with council as well, where council expressed their concerns and their wishes, their desires for the Beltway Plaza redevelopment, the mixed-use residential plus retail. But this is actually the entity, the county planning board that okayed the preliminary plan. That's a real decision. They said yes, okay. Now they gave some conditions, but so this is a milestone. This is a step forward. Something has been decided. To move forward, this plan is pretty good, is what they said.
So I'm intrigued that they're still, I guess, trying to figure out just how much rental versus owned housing, and they're looking at pedestrian-friendly things too, which, yeah, right?
A couple of things. So the rental one, I was surprised. If you would have asked me before I read this, and it would be before this, about the rental, the percentage of rental, I would never have said 80%, which
seems high.
That seemed very high to me. I thought that we were looking at a lower percentage, and I think what they're looking for, what council, both our council, Greenbelt Council, and Prince George's County is looking for, is the stability that comes with ownership,
right?
Purchasing a townhouse or a condo or whatever. So that 80% was high, but yes, they're still discussing it, and who knows? Maybe 80% is. I'm not an expert in this percentages and housing issues like this. So that one, and then the pedestrian issue. What the Prince George's Planning Board said that they like the pedestrian setup and bicycles and so forth within, but they felt that around leading to it on the outside was lacking, and so that the development needs to include, the project needs to include bike trails, paths, things, in
the surrounding areas.
That's right, to help
within,
you get to and from. So that, as I saw it, that was one of their big concerns. So council, of course. Forgive me, I'm smiling. I totally respect them, but they came up with a long list of things that they want, and good for them. Prince George's County sort of has Greenbelt in mind, but our council totally has us in mind. So.
Right, and then Colin Bird, there's a quote in there, I guess close to a quote. Anyway, conditions of city council are vital to continued city support. So they're still,
That's right.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of issues, a lot of things, everything. One of them that interested me, they wanted the streets to be, in the naming of streets, consider historic Greenbelt names. And I wonder how many more uses of green are there,
Or which people's names, if that is what they're considering. I have no idea.
Oh, well, that's true. I suppose that could be, Eleanor Lane and Franklin FDR Street or something. But they also had other concerns. There's wastewater, there's water drainage issues that they want to have addressed. They want to make sure that bike paths are marked. Their concerns totally, make sense. It's just a matter of money, I suppose, and getting everybody,
And maintaining our trees.
Yeah,
very important in Greenbelt.
Yeah,
right?
We love our trees. Yeah. So now I think they're going to go to a specific plan or a detailed.
They think two more steps of DSPs, right? And I already forgot what DSP stands for, but
detailed site plan.
Yeah, there we go.
Detailed site plan. Yeah, right. This is a real acronym-heavy thing here. We got to stay on top of.
This complex thing is just moving right along, and I'm kind of glad. But there are so many variables in here that switch every time you move, right?
That's right. And I hope we're not getting Beltway Plaza redevelopment fatigue, because it is important. again, I think I've said this before. It could move the center of gravity of Greenbelt from old Greenbelt Roosevelt Center to
To Greenbelt Road, right?
yeah, to Greenbelt Road, and that would not be a bad thing in my book because Greenbelt is bigger than just old Greenbelt. So if this is done right, it could really, propel Greenbelt into the future.
Neat. So let's move on to the scholarship fund that the News Review is very involved with,
Very
Virginia
excited.
Beecham.
Yeah, very exciting. So Virginia Beecham, first of all, died last year, and in her honor, in her memory, a scholarship fund was put together, not by us, by a campus, University of Maryland campus entity, put together a scholarship fund. They are seeking to raise $25,000 to endow a scholarship for one student a year, for a certain amount of money, I'm not sure, but anyway, to attend or to be a student in the School of Women's Studies, or in the Women's Studies program.
We're grad students, right? Yeah.
That's right, graduate program. And the reason that this Virginia Beecham scholarship is for that program is because she founded it. She was a Greenbelter, long time Greenbelter. She was deeply involved with the News Review, was a pillar of the paper for 50 years, for many, for decades. An important person in our community, but again, also a scholar, and has established this program. And so it seemed very appropriate, the News Review board, it seemed very fitting that somebody who contributed to Greenbelt, had contributed to the paper, but yet also founded this Women's Studies program, that what better way to honor her memory than to match the scholarship fund. And so they need $25,000. They've raised 15. We, the paper, will match up to 5,000. And so
that gets us closer so that the endowment can live, right?
That's right. And there's still a year to go, or a year and a half. There's still, I think, September 2021. It's not in this article. It might be in another one. So it's not like it has to happen, by next Wednesday or something. But we're now introducing this topic, and over the next 3 weeks there'll be other articles about this, and then periodically over the next every other 2 or 3 months we'll make a mention of it to keep it alive and to help people remember to make a donation
to give to a worthy cause.
Yes, very.
Finally, we'll talk about Alonzo Washington talking to folks about implementation of the Kirwan plan. And just a little background here, that apparently Maryland's public schools have really declined over the past several years. Maryland House Speaker Adrian Jones says that teachers are fleeing to better paying industries, and it's hard to attract and keep teachers. And apparently, fewer than 40% of public high school grads can read or perform math at college or career levels, and that's scary. That's astounding.
It is frightening. I think we've slouched our way into a situation by our country, our state for sure, has kind of all of a sudden, wow, it's like the frog in the boiling water. It's so gradual you don't realize. So yeah, I think something needs to be done, and I think that the Kirwan Commission that starts this year, that the funding for it begins in 2020, and it will go through 2030. It will be a gradual, I think $4 billion will be spent over the course of 10 years. Anyway, to try to address this, to increase teacher salaries, to make investments in infrastructure, to increase the per student funding.
And I think, is there a preschool component to this too? A free preschool, possibly?
I think so. I'm not sure. I don't.
And I'm not either. But they are trying to expand this because they just realize what a horrible place we're in now.
Yeah, and yes, we need to invest in education, and education for everybody. For all of our youth, whether they come from homes that can afford a lot or from homes that can't, in terms of education. We all need to have a basic level. So that's what this is trying to do. And Alonzo Washington came to Greenbelt, went to the New Deal to talk about it. I think he's probably going around his district. He is actually the chairman of the Education Committee in the House of Delegates. So anyway, so that's what he was here talking about. And I've read one other thing. I read a letter to the editor. I've read some complaints that this is too much. This is a budget buster. We can't afford it.
We can't not afford it.
You know, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
We can't afford a populace that is not at least educated up to a certain minimal level.
Exactly. Well, thanks for bringing us up to speed on events here in Greenbelt this week.
Glad to do it.